Chapter 19. Don't Mess with the Gang. A great tree was uprooted and pushed aside by a great force, Sarah throwing the object out of her way with a toss of her head. Spike and Tippy came behind her, given she cleared a nice path for them. Littlefoot towered high, searching for signs of life, fear written across his face. Voices echoed, following it, Spike sniffing and nodding for them to continue on their course, picking up on several scents. "We're almost there," Tippy announced for his mate Spike. The voices grew louder and louder. Littlefoot managed to catch up to the mob, yelling out to one in particular. "Hip, stop this madness!" Spinning to the sound of Littlefoot's voice, Hip frowned and yelled, "Never! Sharptooth are bad! Every one of them!" He gestured for Mutt and Nod, along with others to keep the gang back. "Stop them from interfering with our business!" A row was formed, coming between the gang and Chomper, a wall of brute force to prevent them from closing in. "All we want is for you to let Chomper go. We don't want to fight." "What's this we business? I'm up for a challenge," Sarah said, grinning to a few who stood in her way. "Hear me out," Littlefoot pleaded, hating for the situation to lead to violence. "We're all members of the valley and want what's best. Hip, I know there is good in you, enough to make the right choice. If you stand on the side of the monster, you've shamed your own kind and the leaf eaters of the valley. Your mother was killed by one of those beasts. Don't you want revenge for her death? I've made peace with the past, something you'll have to do too." "Never. I'll never let go. End them. Take them out." "There must be a peaceful way to resolve this," Littlefoot called in a last attempt to stop the brawl. "Finish those fools." "On it," a male spoke, eyeing Littlefoot up. Seeing this, Sarah charged the male three-horn, who dropped his own head and went to strike Littlefoot. "Littlefoot!" called Sarah, rushing to defend her love. Stepping back, Littlefoot saw Sarah leap into action. They came together, Sarah pushing for all she was worth, keeping him from hurting her mate. Her feet dug into the earth, sending him back, only for Sarah to get a better stance and shove back even harder. A club tail charged Spike and Tippy, who split and ducked to avoid a heavy tail to their head. "Spike, watch out!" Tippy called, lifting his own tail to hold back the clubbed one, using all his strength to keep it at bay. Their tails quivered, both using all their strength to overpower the other. Grunting and huffing, Tippy felt sweat roll down his face, seeing the guy glare his way and slowly pushing his tail down. Spike made a sound of anger, going to assist Tippy. He dropped his head and hammered the clubtail in the gut, flipping him onto his side, sending him rolling like a bug on his back. Tippy sighed with relief and smiled to Spike, who threw a wink his way. "Thanks, babe. You're the best." Tippy licked Spike's cheek, seeing him flush. Unlike the others who fought, Littlefoot went to try and stop Hip, only for Nod and Mutt to stand in his way. Another Longneck stood, facing Littlefoot. "Hold up! You ain't going nowhere." "I believe you mean anywhere," Littlefoot corrected, seeing the guy wouldn't move. "Please step aside." "Make me." Head high above, they stared into one another's eyes, seeing what the other would do. Slowly the guy huffed and took a step, Littlefoot reacting and doing the same. Unlike most, a pair of Longnecks fought differently. Their front legs lifted from the earth, holding their body weight on their back legs and slamming their necks together. A pair of shadows fell over Sarah, who saw Littlefoot fight the other Longneck. "Wow, that's kind of hot," she quipped, admiring his fiery side she seldom saw. Turning back to her opponent, she continued her own fight, seeing Littlefoot could handle himself. Necks slamming together, Littlefoot landed with a thunderous stomp, twisting to his side and whipping his tail to knock the other guy over. Falling like a mighty tree, Littlefoot won and easily pushed Mutt and Nod aside. Neck low, he spoke. "Please, have a heart, guys." With his back to the pair, Littlefoot wasn't aware that Nod was about to charge him. Seeing Littlefoot in distress, Sarah threw the male three-horn aside with ease and went to aid him. "Littlefoot!" She ran and upended Mutt, sending him flying through the air, only to get hung up on a tree limb. As for Nod, she sent him sprawling and bumping his head onto the ground and knocking him out. With them out cold, she looked to Littlefoot. "You okay?" "Yeah, I'm fine, but we'll never be able to catch up to them now. I hope the others are having better luck than us." Sarah looked to where they went, frowning with worry. "With luck, Ducky and Petrie can manage to step it up and help." "We can only hope." Littlefoot saw the three-horn charge, reacting quickly. "Sarah, watch out!" He nudged her aside, tripping the guy with his tail. Falling, the guy's head dug into the dirt and was stuck under a pile of soil. "Nice one, Long Neck." "Anything for you, dear." Tippy and Spike managed to send the clubtail running, Tippy panting heavily. "That takes care of them. Now what, leader?" "Follow me." The four went on, Spike sniffing and gesturing for them to hurry. While they liked their adult forms, it made traveling slower, moving like their parents did. While the gang made their way through the forest, Ruby, Ducky, and Petrie were hot on Hip's heels. Though there was a good deal of ground to cover, the mob reaching the ledge and awaiting orders from Hip. Going in and out of consciousness, Chomper felt his body being pulled, the earth moving under him, hearing voices fade in and out. Ears ringing, the noise died down, and he slowly stirred, waking and looking around with a blurry vision. There were many leaf-eaters of all shapes and sizes, glaring at him with anger. Among them was Hip, who was shouting and waving his arms around. When his senses returned fully, Chomper was able to comprehend that they intended to kill him. Given his muzzle was the only thing left untied, he coughed and cleared his throat. "Wait! Hold it!" This got their attention, Chomper speaking up. "Certainly you would allow me to say some final last words." Rolling his eyes, Hip folded his arms over his chest. "So, any last words, freak?" "I'm sorry, Hip. Truly, regrettably remorseful for what I did, for biting you. If I could take back what I did, take your pain and anger away, I would in a heartbeat. I never meant to hurt you, and if you let me go, perhaps you and I could become friends. Why, even Ruby might like you for allowing me to live," Chomper said, buying himself some time and hoping Hip would give in. "What do you say, we put the past behind us and move forward, together?" Hip was quiet for a moment, thinking it over. Then he spoke. "No, tie his muzzle shut. I don't want to hear any more false words." "No, wait, don't!" Chomper was cut off, vines wrapping around his maw. Head shaking side to side, he pushed back those who muzzled him. His muffled yells were heard, unable to be made out by any. "Right, over the edge with him!" Chomper was pushed, inched closer and closer to the edge. Legs dangling over, his tail swept side to side in a state of panic. A bit of rock fell, splashing into the water, knowing he'd soon follow it. It brought back the memories of when he was young, when he found himself and a mean Sharptooth falling into the big water. Unlike that time, no one was around to come to his aid, leaving him on his own. When he was almost shoved over, Ruby darted out, holding a branch and striking at Hip. "Call it off!" Hip ducked and reached to hold her back, gripping close to each of her fists. Face to face with the angry fast runner, Hip smiled. "You sure are stubborn, stupid to come and face me." Anger boiled within, Ruby spinning and smacking him with her tail, sending him to the earth. "You shouldn't have threatened the one I love." With Hip down, Ruby went to try and move those who meant harm to Chomper. "Leave him be!" Before Ruby could stop the mob, Hip grabbed her leg, yanking her down, forcing her to watch helplessly while Chomper teetered on the edge. "Now your love will die!" He felt a few kicks, yet managed to keep her down, chuckling. "There's nothing you can do now!" With no land left under him, Chomper was sent falling over the edge and out of sight. "Chomper!" cried Ruby, reaching out and seeing him slip from her grasp. "Chomper, no!" "It's done! We won! We did it!" called Hip to the rest, who cheered. "The monster is gone for good!" "Jerk!" Tears filled her eyes, Ruby's heart breaking, finding the energy to fight back. Elbowing Hip, she managed to spin him to the earth, the pair rolling side to side, each trying to win over the other. Behind them a voice spoke. "No, we're too late!" Littlefoot stumbled out of the woods, watching in horror at the misfortune of his friend. The gang emerged from the brush and gathered around, shoving the valley members aside to see if they could spot Chomper among the crashing of waves. "Move, you fools! You've done enough!" moving them easily or poking a few who didn't budge. "Away! Get out of here!" "Are you all happy with what you've done?" Littlefoot scolded. "Killing someone simply because they're different. For shame. He was good. He tried to bring kindness into this world and you killed him. You're all monsters." "Petrie, see if you can locate Chomper," Ducky asked, peering downward. Diving over the group, Petrie glided across the water, searching with a keen set of eyes. "This no look good," Petrie added, seeing only bubbles along the surface.